Assessment is a vital component in any learning course or program that aims continuous improvement. It enables employees to monitor their progress and assess themselves. A multiple choice item consists of a problem known as the stem and a list of suggested solutions, known as options or alternatives. The alternatives consist of one correct option, which is the answer, and incorrect or inferior alternatives, known as distractor. So we have the anatomy of multiple choice. A multiple choice item consists of a problem known as the stem and a list of suggested solutions known as options or alternatives. The alternatives consist of one correct option, which is the answer, and incorrect known as distractor. So we have 10 rules of framing multiple choice questions. First rule is avoid grammatical clues. Grammatical clues make the answer obvious to learners. We must ensure that the question stem is free for grammatical clues such as a or an. Example, for incorrect question, a word that modifies an adjective is called an. Number 1, adverb. 2, adjective. 3, verb. Number 4, conjunction. So, yung correct question naman is a word that modifies an adjective is called a/an. 1, adverb. 2, adjective, verb, and conjunction. So, ang different nun, sa incorrect question kasi wala siyang a and an. So, yung sa incorrect question lang is an lang. So, mapapansin natin, dapat it should be a or an. So, free dapat siya. Yung stem ng multiple choice should have a or an. So, free siya gamitin yung a and an sa adverb, adjective, verb, and conjunction. Next rule, rule number 2 is keep the alternatives homogeneous. Heterogeneous content provides clue to the learners on which answer is correct. Alternatives should be homogeneous and shouldn't provide a clue. Also, it is important to note that the alternatives have grammar consistent with the question's stem, parallel in form and similar in length and language. Example, for incorrect question, Ontario is famous for Niagara Falls, the state with a bearer on its flag. Number 3, the largest producer of apples in Canada. And number 4, the location of the tallest mountain in Canada. So, sa correct question should be, Ontario is famous for. So, mapapansin nyo, yung pagpipilian, it should be short lang. Like, 1, Niagara Falls. 2, Victoria Falls. 3, Angel Falls. 4, Iguazu Falls. So, muna natin nyo sa incorrect question. So, like, number 2, the state with a bearer on its flag. So, nagkakaroon siya ng heterogeneous. So, dapat daw, homogeneous yung in which answer is correct. So, dapat may homogeneous. And it shouldn't provide a clue. So, next rule, rule number 3, the stem should be in a question format, not incomplete statements. The stem should either be a question or a partial sentence. This allows the learner to focus on answering the question rather than holding the partial sentence in working memory and sequentially completing it with each option. So, dapat daw the stem should be in a question format, not incomplete statements. Halimbawa, an incorrect question, the capital of Indonesia is Jakarta, Bandung, C. Surabaya, D. Medan. So, yung correct question niya is, which of the following is the capital of Indonesia? So, nakita niyo yung pagkakaiba. Yung sa incorrect question, wala siyang which, but sa correct question ay may which. So, dapat daw, yung correct question natin is complete. So, kagaya nito, which of the following is the capital of Indonesia? A. Jakarta, B. Bandung, C. Surabaya, D. Medan. Next rule, rule number 4. If using an incomplete statement, avoid beginning with blank space. The cognitive load on the learner is increased when the stem is constructed with an initial or blank in between, so avoid such construction. Incorrect question, blank, is a synonym for courtesy. A. Bow. B. Honestly. C. Politeness. D. Tribute. So, for the correct question, it should be the synonym for courtesy is blank. So, yung blank, dapat nasa hulihan siya, not sa before the question. Kumbaga, hindi dapat siya sa unahan. So, that is. Next rule, rule number 5, alternatives should be mutually exclusive. Options that overlap confuse learners and can be easily identified as distractors. Also, if the overlap includes that intended answer, then there will be more than one option that can be confused as the right answer. So, yung overlap, it is the extent of the option. So, for incorrect question, how long does an annual plant generally live? A. It dies after the first year. B. It lives for many years. C. It lives for more than 1 year. And D. It needs to be replaced each year. So for correct questions, it should be how long does an annual plant generally live? A. Only 1 year. B. Only 2 years. C. Only 3 years. And D. Several years. So it should be only 1 year. So just a short option lang. Like only 1 year, only 2 years. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya dapat mahaba yung pagpipilian. Next rule, rule number 6. All alternatives should be plausible. The function of incorrect option is to serve as distractors. Options that are implausible don't serve as distractors and hence should not be used. So, all alternatives should be plausible. So, dapat daw nakakapaniwala yung alternatives. Example for incorrect question, who among the following directed the film Titanic? A. Vincent van Gogh. B. Neil Gaiman. C. James Cameron. D. Steve Jobs. So, mapapansin nyo, si Vincent van Gogh, hindi siya director. Kumbaga, ano siya tawag dito? Sa art siya kasali. So, dapat daw, credible or plausible yung choices. Kapanipaniwala or related to the question. For correct question, example, who among the following directed the film Titanic? A. Steven Spielberg. B. Christopher Nolan. C. James Cameron. D. Martin Scorsese. So, yung kailangan daw, related siya na sa gumawa ng Titanic or directed the film Titanic. So, hindi naman si Vincent van Gogh yung director. So, mali yung choices dito. Rule number 7, alternatives should be presented in a logical order. Arranging alternative logically in an alphabetical or numerical order will help you avoid cognitive overload and possible confusion. 5. B. 1929 to 1934. C. 1914 to 1917. D. 1939 to 1955. So, dapat daw dito is nakasunod-sunod yung year niya. Like, for example, sa correct question. So, dapat daw dito is nakasunod-sunod yung year niya. Like, for example, sa correct question. In which of these time periods was World War II fought? A. 1914 to 1917. B. 1929 to 1934. C. 1939 1945. Or D. 1951 to 1955. So, mapapansin nyo yung pagkasunod-sunod ng choices niya. So, rule number 8, balance the placements of the correct answer. If you have noticed, correct answer are usually at the second or third position. Many instructions have a tendency to bury the answers in the middle, instead of placing them as the first or last option. This practice, however, is quite known to learners. The best method is to randomize the answer. For example, incorrect question, answer K, 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5A, 6B, 7C, 8D, 9A, 10B. So, mapapansin nyo, parang nasa chronological order siya. Kumbaga, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. Parang paulit-ulit. So, it should be, for the correct question, answer K, 1B, 2D, 3A, 4C, 5B, 6D, B, and B, A, C. So, dapat hindi siya magka-sunod-sunod. Next rule, rule number 9. Avoid the use of specific determiners when words such as never, always, only, or include and the distractors to make them false. They serve as clues to alert learners. Instead, if necessary, you can include them in the beginning of your questions stem rather than using them in the option. For example, for incorrect question, to avoid infection after receiving a puncture wound to the hand, you should A. Always go to the immunization center to receive a tetanus shot. So yung always, dapat hindi siya nilalagay sa unahan. So because it becomes a distractors or it will become a clues to alert learners that it is false. So like this, letter B, be treated with an antibiotic only if the wound is painful. Letter C, ensure that no foreign object has been left in the wound. And letter D, never wipe the wound with alcohol unless it's still bleeding. So another example here is yung never. So dapat hindi should be not in the preceded. So kailangan nasa lihan siya. Should not be and preceding. Like this, never wipe the wound with alcohol unless it is still bleeding. So however, so it should be so for the correct question, to avoid infection after receiving a puncture wound to the hand, you should always A. Go to the immunization center to receive a immunization. B. Be treated with an antibiotic if the wound is painful. Letter C. Ensure that no foreign object has been left in the wound. And letter D. Wipe the wound with alcohol unless it is still bleeding. So, kailangan natin siyang tanggalin yung never and always. So for our last rule, rule number 10, keep the alternatives similar in the length. An option in a multiple choice question that is noticeably longer or shorter than the other has a greater chance of being assumed to be correct answer. Hence, to avoid such choices without good reason, always keep your options similar in length. For incorrect question, example, which of the following is the best indication of high morality and supervisor unit? A. Employees are rarely required to work overtime. B. Employees are willing to give first priority to group objectives subordinating and personal discharge. So yung sa incorrect question, so sobrang haba niya. It's very long choices. So it should be for correct question, it should be which of the following is the best indication of high morality and supervisor unit? So dapat daw magkakapareho yung sukat ng mga choices natin. Like letter A, employees are rarely required to work overtime. B, employees willingly give first priority to group objectives. And letter C, the supervisor enjoys staying late to plan for the next day. Letter D, so mapapansin nyo, magkakaparehas lang sila. Unlike dun sa isa yung may mahaba, tas may maikling choices. Learners prefer multiple choice question over other assessment methods because it is simple and easy to score. By following the above-mentioned rules, you can design objective and reliable multiple choice question to evaluate learning. And that's all for today. So that's all. Thank you for watching.